If you all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Report of action from closed session on item 2.1. We took staff recommendation regarding a settlement agreement related to a student personnel matter. Motion was made by Board Member Constance, seconded by Board Member Hirota. The vote was 4-0, unanimous in the affirmative, with Board Member Franz absent. On item 2.2, the board took action to pass resolution 2227 to release a temporary employee. Motion was made by Board Member Hirota, seconded by Board Member Constant, and the motion passed 4-0 in the affirmative, with Board Member Franz absent. As to item 2.3, no reportable action was taken. Okay, item 3.3, announcement of meeting protocol. Most of you are familiar with the meeting protocol. For any matter that where individuals would like to speak for items not on the agenda, that will come up for item 3.7. Whether you want to speak on an item on the agenda or not on the agenda, we request you fill out a speaker slip and turn it into to Brad over here on the corner. And we'll make that happen. I do have, I think, 7 of them for non-agenda items. So we'll go with 3 minutes apiece. Complaints about specific employees or employees of the district should be made to that employee's immediate supervisor or to the principal as required by board policy and administrative regulation. As a reminder, this meeting is being audio and video recorded. I think that's it. 3.5, committee reports. Any committees meet?
I don't know. No, we have one coming up, but
Tomorrow.
yeah,
You want tomorrow?
if she says so.
It looks like it on the thing, October 14th.
Oh no, that's been rescheduled.
That's been rescheduled, I think. Okay.
28.
All right. Well, we got some. We have some committee. We don't have any reports of past meetings, but we got some coming up. Student board representative reports. We have George, and is it Kamea?
Yep.
Kamea.
Yeah.
Take your pick. Rock, scissors, paper. Who wants to go first? Winner's choice. That's how it is.
So, I mean, at Oakmont right now, it's homecoming week, so it's super, super busy, especially in student government right now. I mean, obviously people outside of student government are busy too, like our band. They're practicing for this week's football game. But it's just a lot of work right now, setting up for the dance tomorrow night and tomorrow morning, and then clean up after. And then we were lucky to receive homecoming posters wishing us good luck from all the other schools in our district. And then last week we just finished midterms, so kind of refresh right now. Something that I want to talk about that we're doing at Oakmont is lunchtime activities. It's just kind of like fun things that we're doing to keep kids occupied at lunchtime and to try to bring up school spirit. Like yesterday, we had a freshman, sophomore versus junior, senior volleyball game out in the quad. And today we had arm wrestling competitions, we had sack races on Tuesday, and this kind of all ties into our homecoming theme, which is Wizard of Oz, but we're going to try to keep continuing one per week for the rest of the year. We're in the swing of fall sports season right now, and then I would also like to talk about Queen Freya's Closet at Oakmont, which is where we have donated like prom dresses and tuxedos and whatnot, and it's a place where kids can come get those items for free, and it's confidential, so they don't have to be embarrassed, or if they just find something that they like, they could take it, and I want to encourage that across all schools across our district.
Question before we move on: is there a way to I would assume you need donations from.
Yeah, so we just send out a lot of social media posts and like emails to parents about, oh, if you have like a student that doesn't need these dresses anymore or suits or whatever and doesn't fit into them, please donate. And I mean, we got a good like 30 donations this year, and I mean, not all of them get picked up every year. So we have stuff from past years, and we have dresses for prom and homecoming and winter ball. All of them, because we have long dresses, short dresses, whatever. And then we have a few suits and a good amount of just like menswear for winter ball and homecoming.
Nice.
West Park has very similar stuff. We had a very successful homecoming week about a couple weeks ago. We actually had 1,120 students attend out of 1,500 for our dance, which was really good numbers for us. Fall sports are wrapping up. Our football team is undefeated, which is really good for us, and we're coming into playoffs. Our BAPA department is also going into a lot of things. Our theater department is is putting on Almost Made, which is a play that they're just doing. And later in the spring, they're going to do Into the Woods. And then we're kicking off November with a Culture Fest, where we're honoring a bunch of our ethnic clubs and nationality clubs every day. So we're having a PI day, we're having a BSU day, we're having a Latino Student Union Day. And we're also opening up a very big building in our school called The Grove, November 7th, which is a big thing for us. We're still under construction, for those of you that don't know. But this has a library, it has a theater, it has a lot of our really big things we've been waiting for. So we're really excited for that. And yeah, that's a lot of our stuff. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions or any comments for our two awesome students? Okay. Thank you both. We appreciate it. Okay. Let's see what reports. Public comment. Again, I've got 7 speaker cards. We'll have 3 minutes apiece, and I'll call the first 3 individuals. So the person number 2 and 3 just be on deck. First is Bernadette Cranmer from teacher at GBHS.
Good evening. My name is Bernadette Cranmer, and I am the English lead from Granite Bay High School, and I presented the list of the English titles last night at the Site Council, and I wanted to follow up on last night's experience. First, while it was wonderful to have such strong attendance, I was dismayed to see that the two sides focused on speaking, but not listening to each other. There was a sense of competition rather than collaboration, and I would prefer that we work toward shared understanding. 5 speakers opposed passing the list, while 40 favored it. This is a democratic republic, and the vote went in the way of the majority. However, I hope that the majority do not feel triumphant. Instead, I hope they will be mindful that we need to build understanding. Second, none of the minority speakers cited an instance when they had contacted their student's English teacher. If they have concerns with something in their child's class, they skip the necessary step of contacting the teacher first. I don't know if they have actual examples, but what they do have is fear. And sadly, they have chosen a method that has been unsuccessful in addressing those fears. Last, I have been publicly misquoted by the minority group at a board meeting here and again last night. At the first Site Council meeting in September, I brought up the Bible to respond to their comments about addressing only positive aspects of life in all the classes at Granite Bay. In referencing Romans 3:10, I said that mankind is evil, that man's horrific behavior is detailed in Scripture, and that God, not me and not English teachers, uses that to teach us how not to behave. I felt it was relevant because I am a Christian, and I assumed that the minority group were Christians, so we had a shared context. If they are Christians, I hope they re-examine Romans 3:10 through 12, a portion of which says, "There is no righteous person, not even one." And that's why so much literature reflects the pain of living in this world. Let us hope for grace, and let us be gracious.
Thank you. Okay, I said I was going to read 3 names, and I forgot to read the other 2. Next will be Rochelle Hodson. After that, Tamara Mahmood, and after that, Meg. Is it Weiss? Weiss.
Call my senior.
Yeah, senior moment.
Good evening.
Please.
I'm a Granite Bay parent of a graduate and a current student. I'm also a graduate of this district. I'm sure Mr. Basham does not remember me from science at Roseville High School. It's been a while. But I'm here in support of teachers in this curriculum and also speaking about the events that have been happening throughout the district in Granite Bay last night. So I just want to speak to the board and ask you to trust your teachers, these experts that you've hired, professionals in the classroom, and know that they have studied this literature, and the overwhelming voice of students last night was of trust of their teachers. And so I ask that of you as well. Many of the works on the list that's being challenged are AP college level texts. And College Board has come out publicly and stated that they're not changing their requirements, they're not changing their lists. And if our students aren't meeting those requirements, then our AP programs are at risk, and college admissions can be at risk as well. Many of the challenges are also based on inconsistencies and misreadings. And teachers have studied these texts, and they're the professionals and they've read them and do thoughtful, close reading and discussion in the classroom. So I just ask you to trust your teachers. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is Tamara, Meg, and then Nicole.
Good evening. My name's Tamara. I'm a parent.
Tamara, sorry about that.
That's okay. Granite Bay High School graduate and freshman that just started this year. I went to school locally as well. I'm a graduate of Casa Roble, which I know is like a big rival here. But I wanted to speak to the events last night. Although, you know, I respect the comments about the contentiousness of last night, I was actually very heartened. We had a lot of student speakers last night who spoke so eloquently and intelligently with such compassion and love that, you know, really kind of made me feel great about what our future is. I am a first-generation immigrant. I studied English literature in college. I read all the time. And all the texts I was asked to read as a student did not reflect the background I grew up with. We didn't have that option available to us. So I speak from the perspective of having read experiences and lifestyles and family setups that were much different than my own. And that helped me grow into a person who, you know, approaches other people with love to the point that I actually dedicated my career to healthcare. So I think that, you know, we should trust the professionals to make professional decisions, just like people entrust their children with me as a healthcare provider. I entrust my children with the teachers who have had the education and the experience to develop these lists and curriculum and teach with a lot of compassion and grace. So that's all I have to say tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is Meg, then Nicole, and then Shemaine.
Hi there, I'm also a Granite Bay parent. My name's Meg Weiss. I have a graduate of Granite Bay, a current student at Granite Bay, and one that will be there in a couple years. I also attended last night's meeting, the site council meeting, and I have a little bit of a different take. So at one portion of our meeting, we talked about the 3-tiered approval system that is new to the district this year. I believe it was developed at the board level. One of the tiers is the materials that are approved at a district level, and then materials approved at a site level, and then the third tier, or the first tier, depends on which way you turn it, was materials that would be used kind of as a one-off basis. I heard from a particular teacher last night, and I am also, my background is in teaching, that this really puts teachers in a box. It's preventing them from being responsive to students. They have to develop curriculum already to meet the state standards. They're being called to collaborate with their teams at their school site, and also respond to a variety of needs of students. And now that process is now inviting the variety of value-based systems in our district between different parents, different families with different values to then weigh in on what value system should be using as our yardstick. I'm really concerned that we've created some real issues for teachers, and I don't think it's allowing them to do their best work. And I want teachers to be able to respond to students. Tuesday something comes up, and Wednesday they come into class with a new piece of material that's going to make something clear for their students. We've taken that away from them. We've taken their ability, they could use it one time, they can't use it twice. And they can't use it, they can't share it with their colleagues. So we've ended collaboration, we've ended innovation, and we've ended responding to students and their needs. And we've opened a can of worms with measuring whose values are we gonna measure things against in this district. So I hope that you guys will reevaluate that system and take a look at what it is doing to our professionals, and probably they aren't feeling a huge level of trust from the board for what they do, and they do a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next is Nicole, and then Shemaine, and then Seth Astle.
Hi, I'm Nicole Young. I have 3 graduates, one from John Adams Academy, 2 from Wood Creek, and I have a freshman at Wood Creek. So my boys, my oldest son graduated from John Adams Academy, my other 2, Wood Creek. My oldest son is classically educated. He had a really rich array of literature that he was taught from, which was diametrically opposed to what my other 2 boys, their literature choices that they had, and that's coming from AP classes. My oldest son graduated very college prepared, while my other 2 boys were not quite up to par. As far as the English curriculum goes, there's so much contention about these choices. We have such a rich array of literature that we could choose from that is not maybe quite as controversial. I think that the parents last night were mainly wanting a little more time to review this curriculum, but we have, within this district, as John Adams is under Roosevelt Joint District, we have choices, other choices that we can look at and glean from that maybe might be better suited to further these children in reading, writing, and analyzing literature, and graduating and being more prepared to go out into the professional world and into the college world. So that's my 2 cents in all of this, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Shemaine.
Hello. So yes, I did quote you at the meeting, and I did not misquote you, but I'm glad that you and I can agree on something. Last night's meeting, I was disturbed. It was very upsetting to see 2 sides with such contention when there was so much, it was based on so much misinformation. That list was never supposed to get out. We didn't send it to the teachers. It was literally a list that we were using to evaluate. And then I even said to Mr. Sloan, perhaps it's time to have a conversation with the teachers. So, we were a community in divide when we really wanted the same things. Balanced curriculum and discussions that promote critical thinking. That's what we were all asking for. One side was barely represented because parents and students who were afraid to speak out due to retaliation didn't attend. Mr. Sloan chose not to read their comments. He was sent a Google form, or he created a Google form prior to the meeting, but unfortunately those voices weren't heard. One side was well represented with many in attendance. Sadly, their comments were all based on misinformation and skewed quotes from Granite Bay Today, the SAP-B, and some of the teachers at Granite Bay High School. All 3 resources promoted or printed things that were false to further a narrative. Teachers gave students extra credit for speaking out against the list. And it was a list that parents simply made notes on about concerns. It was a simple request for balanced material in English, and it just got really out of hand. As a result of the misinformation, several students and parents were led to believe that we were asking for book banning and censorship. We were not. These words literally were never part of the original request. Parents from all races, sexes, and backgrounds, including LGBTQ and Black, brown people, rape victims, and more, reviewed the English materials and they addressed their concerns. Yet parents were slandered multiple times, called racist and homophobic. And given who was involved in the list review, this language proves that inclusion and empathy is not really the goal here. So here's some of the facts about what occurred. 150 items in 5 days was unreasonable. We asked them to extend the vote. We did not protest. We did not make counterproductive, hateful arguments. We did not make a proposal to ban or censor. We didn't provide the list to the teachers to do so. We legally and respectfully reviewed the materials during public comment. We addressed concerns. We requested some revisions. That's not censorship or book banning because the list isn't approved. We requested positive, balanced material from authors of all backgrounds of human success stories, growth, achievement, love, leadership. Candace Owens, Thomas Sowell, Ben Shapiro, those are all people that we can include. LGBTQ, Black, white, Asian, like it doesn't have anything to do with race. So I guess we have a mental health problem, and I would like to see some more positive, balanced materials in our curriculum. So that's what we're asking for. I'd like to focus on kindness and opportunities for great outcomes for success.
Thank you. Seth.
Please forgive me for my emotion. I do not want to be here tonight. I no longer have that choice. It is my duty and responsibility to protect my family. So tonight, I will draw a line and I will take a stand for my family, as I owe it to them. I am Seth Astle. My child attended Granite Bay High School on October 29, 2021. This day and this event of this day changed my family's life forever. My family had some belief that this district cared about my child. Boy, were we wrong. My child was physically attacked from behind by his English teacher during his class. My son reached out for help and did not receive it. Nor did we as his parents receive proper help. The investigation and cover-up was led by a man in this room tonight. How is it that he sits here on your closed and open sessions with some misguided perception that he decides what this board should or should not hear? Why does this only gatekeeper get to make that choice? We are almost 24 meetings later and he has sat through and did not say a word. He wrote this report to protect his teacher, not my child. We never got to tell our side. And out of respect for your policy, I won't name him by name, so I'll use a different word. Allegation. Predator put his hand on top of MA's cowboy hat, which my son was wearing. Sustained. As part of the investigation, 35 students in the class were interviewed. 7 students, not including MA's testimonial, reported this predator put his hand on my child's hat. Allegation 3. Why this predator put his hand on top of my son's hat. He shook his head around multiple times. Sustained. As part of the investigation, 35 kids in the class and 7 students, not including my son's testimony, reported this predator putting his hand on top of my son's hat and shaking his head. I just read a part from your in-house district investigation and finding. This report is so difficult for me to read. Not only did the teacher admit to it in his own testimonial, 7 other children had to witness the abuse my son received that night. It was much worse than this report says, and we haven't even got to tell our side of the story. And yet, your HR investigator never told the board about these findings. How do you sit here tonight after almost a year and tell me you didn't know? How is this possible? You as a board sit here tonight knowing my son was put back in this predator's class. This predator is still teaching in the school today. My family was led to believe this would be taken care of. Little did I know the district men will cover this up. The district has put not only my child at risk, but how many other unknowing, unwilling children at risk. My son has been deprived of his fair and equal education rights, not only in this district, but also affects his college and his future due to these actions. We have now had to pull my son from the high school at Granite Bay. 3 principals in 3 years. This board knows there are problems there. Where do we even start with last year's principal that was part of this cover-up? Really? This district bullied and intimidated my family. This ends tonight. I will not rest till this wrong is made right. To the best of my ability, when you go to sleep at night, know if you do nothing, you're part of the cover-up. And for your guys' information, by the grace of God, the statute hasn't expired and I am pressing charges. And may you as a board know that you have a predator on campus and he continues to get to go to school while we had to pull my son out of there. I have no idea what has happened to my child and how long this is going to affect him. But we sit here with parents tonight and I hear them all talk about trusting teachers. I wanted to trust them. I also wanted to trust the district. I wanted to trust everybody that supposedly are the best for my child. But I had their investigation admitting to the teacher grabbing my son by the head and didn't even have the courtesy to write the fact that my son was wearing the hat. This is an absolute sham of it. But out of fear for what happened to my child after they started the investigation and kids at school said, "You're going after my coach," and then a physical altercation, my son was retaliated and there was no help. So as a family, we had to drop charges because we were intimidated by this district and the school. 6 months to 2 years in court, how's that going to fend for your child and these other kids? And then they're going to have to testify. And I can't even start with the abuse my family's received. And for you as a board, if this wasn't brought to your guys' attention and you're telling me you had no idea, what kind of district is this?
Okay, that's all of the public comment cards that I have. Are there any other members of the public wish to address the board on a matter not on the agenda?
Make a referral to staff real quick.
Yeah.
So, based on the, I'm not going to address the last issue because there's other ways that we're addressing that. But on the previous issues of the curriculum, the books, the selection and all that, there's been a lot of discussion about that, both at our meetings and at school sites. And I know there's not really a full awareness of what all the different rules are and this and that. And I know we have at least one new board member now. We're going to have one, maybe 2 new board members here shortly in the next 2 months. I would like to see if staff in January, we could have a more of a study work session where we go through what the processes are, what the processes have been, so that everybody can sort of be on the same page of where the rules are, and then examine whether we need to make any changes. I think now we have a little bit of transition happening here, so let's kind of get through that and then start off. It'll be a good training process for the new board members, and it'll be great for the community, the parents, and everybody to have their opportunity to see what's been happening, what sort of the state rules and guidelines are, and then where we go from there.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I know the policy committee does have a couple of policies that I have drafted for their consideration.
That are coming up at the next.
They're coming up, yeah. So,
I'm thinking a little more foundational than that.
Yep.
In study sessions, so that it'll be good to get. Even Heidi and I, we're pretty darn new, so get us all sort of up to speed.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Okay. Let's move on to the consent calendar.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Before you do that, I have had a request to pull item 4.10 from the consent calendar. Any other items to pull? All right, Pete, go ahead.
My motion to approve with the exception of 410.
Okay. It's been moved that we approve the consent calendar with the exception of 4.10. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, motion by Board Member Constance, second by Board Member Hall. Roll call vote, please.
Yes, Pete Constant,
Yes.
Heidi Hall,
Yes.
Ms. Rhoda, she stepped out?
She stepped
Mr.
out.
Cheever?
Yes.
Don't forget the school visitor member.
Oh, I'm sorry, student members. Sorry. Thank you, Pete.
I know you couldn't see them because
I was gonna say usually they're right there in the corner, and on the corner of my vision. But all right, okay. Well, that passes 3-0 with 2 board members absent for that vote. We'll come back to 4.10 because it was Julie that asked to pull that one. Item 5.1, RSEA. Is anybody here from RSEA? I didn't see anybody. RSEA is not here tonight. Okay. Oh, I just got past the note. RSEA not here tonight. Perfect. Timely. Okay. 5.2, English Learner Master Plan Update and Report.
Last year, we had an information presentation by Melanie Pondo, who has been leading our English Learner Advisory with the parents district-wide as well as school by school. And she gave us a preview of how things are going and what changes we can expect. That's what the plan is that you have attached. It's simply the plan that has the updated legislation, refers to the current exams. Some of those had been changed by policy at the state level, and so we are now up to speed. Nothing has changed since the presentation you had, so we did not bring a full presentation forward, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Board members, any question?
Well, that was my big question. And in all this, were there any changes that were so small we might have not noticed them? And the answer is no.
Yeah, the changes are all related to the tests, and the way we reclassify students has been adjusted at the state level, and so we're just bringing our plan into alignment. Thank you.
Okay. That's just an informational item. So we'll move on to 6.1. Resolution 2226, Northern California Regional Liability Excess Fund Property and Liability Program Membership. Jeff?
Yes, thank you. We started this discussion a little bit at the last board meeting where we passed a resolution to leave our current insurance provider, Schools Insurance Group. And so I'm bringing this forward, this resolution. We've been working on this since about March or so, looking at different providers. I also have both Jeff and Nancy here in the audience if you have any further questions, but they're from Keenan, who works through this program, the Northern California Relief Liability Excess Fund Property and Liability Insurance Programs. If approved tonight, this would go into effect for July 1st, 2023. So we're still a bit early, but this gives us a lot of time starting in January to start working on, our safety programs, appraisals, things like that. And we can, they have a lot of programs as far as trainings and stuff that we could start utilizing. And so, and just as a reminder, we believe we're going to save in excess of about $500,000 a year with this insurance company and still maintaining very similar, in some ways, better insurance coverage. So staff recommends adoption of the resolution, but I'm also open to any questions.
Any questions?
Yeah. So is the biggest reason why you guys are changing insurance because of the change in how much money we are paying, or is there any other reasons?
That's a very good question. There are some other reasons. This is a much bigger pool than we currently were a part of. Our current program, Schools Insurance Group, we're one of the biggest districts, and now this has a very much larger and has multiple pools all throughout the Bay Area and Stockton and all of Northern California. So we believe we're going to get much better coverage. If you have a bigger group of people, you can get better rates. And so it's become harder over the years to get good insurance coverage, and so we feel confident that not only we getting better rates, but that we'll be able to get better rates for a longer time too.
Okay, and also, I don't know if you know this, but would it change like the stuff that schools can and cannot do? Like for say like our homecoming rally, I know that there's a lot of insurance stuff that we have to go through, right? And
basketball, here we go.
Yeah, that's a good question too. This will be fairly similar, but actually I believe schools insurance group being a smaller, they've been much more restrictive about what we can do. And so I believe it'll be a little bit more lenient, but there are certain things that we still, and it's an evolving thing as research comes out that certain things you can and can't do. And so, but I believe compared to your current experience, they work with a lot more districts, and so they're a lot more familiar with the activities. We're in a group where we're the majority of the high schools. I mean, Rockland's in school insurance group, and so some of the things we want to do are pretty unique to SIG, and it's much more common in this group, some of the activities that we would do as high schools.
But I would add, I might still say no.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts?
I just wanted to express thanks because I know that our finance guys are always looking for ways to save money, whether it's refunding bond issuances or shopping around the insurance. And while it's not always about money, it's about security and risk and all that. I just want to say thanks because I think this helps us on both ends. It makes us stronger, more resistant to the risks that are out there in the world, and we're saving money. It's a win-win.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll echo those same comments. And again, it's been a long road. I know, it's not easy to get a group this size to jump from one insurance provider to another is a Herculean task. It's not an easy thing to do. And we're getting a much more stable group and a much more from a risk standpoint. When you look at activities, we're getting a much more stable group. You'll get a group that if they say yes, you can do something, you can do it, and not yes this year, but no next year, maybe the year after that. We have to rethink it the year after that. The group we were in was very small, and as a result, how do I put it? Their opinions change wildly depending on who it was you were asking, for an opinion. So, but when you have a large group like this with third-party administrators, you guys are a TPA, right? Yeah. When you have a third-party administrator who is essentially the eyes and ears for the insurance company, they deal with everybody with an even hand, and there is no politics involved. There is no, and the group that we were in, because it was a joint powers authority made up of all of the other public agencies, there was always politics going on. Well, you guys did this at your school, but we can't do this over here, and you get out of that when you go to a group like this. So anyway, those are my thoughts on it. Is there a motion?
I would make a motion that we approve this resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's moved and seconded. Student board members, what do you think?
yes.
You like a $500,000+ savings and
He wants
Make
a
our lives
full
And more-
list of what they're
and
about
much
to
more
do.
flexibility on activities?
I had to go deliver like waivers to multiple different houses today for people that are like driving cars and are going to be on floats and everything. So is it
Well, you may still have waivers. Don't get me wrong. I mean,
there was
I don't want to speak for the third-party administrator here, but you may still have waivers, right?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but all right. So you guys are both good? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Resolution.
Oh, it is a resolution. I'm sorry. Roll call vote.
Yes, Mr. Constant,
Yes.
Ms. Hall,
Yes.
and Mr. Huber.
Yes. All right. Motion passes. County Committee on School District Organization.
All right, so we have some positions that are up in the Placer County, the county committee, and they're asking each of the governing boards to nominate any members. And so our former board member, Andrew Tagg, he is in District 1, so his area is up. And there's also a vacancy, I believe, in District 3. And so it's up to the board if they know of anyone interested here, if you live in those areas.
Can we nominate George?
Yeah, George can do it.
You might want to say no, George.
And what this does for those interested, so if there's territory transfers, for example, a year and a half ago, there was the far reaches of Pleasant Grove and the new Santucci Boulevard. There was some exchange of houses between center and our district because the property line literally went through people's houses, and so depending on what side of the hallway you lived on, you were going to go to that school district. So this organization is a part of that review and approval process. So those are the type of things this group talks about. And there is another one possibly coming up far out in the west side, so this will be an active group.
So do we need to make a nomination, or is this just if we want to?
No, just if you want to.
Because I don't want any more work.
Anybody have strong feelings about it? I have no strong feelings, so why don't we just move on?
All right.
Let's go back.
Is 410 time sensitive for this month, or is it something we could just defer since it's the last item?
We could defer it. They've been asking us to make a decision here, so that we're planning to start in January. So there is some preliminary work that needs to be done. So we can defer it to the next meeting, would be within the time frame.
I just don't know the reason for the request to pull.
Yeah,
And
all I know is she just wanted additional clarification. I don't know what it was.
Okay, I'll follow up with her as well between now and then.
And if it ends up being that there is a time sensitivity that arises, I think we would all be willing to do a special meeting to make sure we don't miss this opportunity, but I want to make sure that Julie has an opportunity to ask her questions.
Fair enough, thank you.
Okay. Next regularly scheduled meeting is October 27 here at the district office. Item 7.2 list the pending agenda items. I'm not going to go through it, but board and staff comments. Why don't we start with our students? Anything further that you want to add?
Pete, give me 30 years and maybe I'll think about it.
Well, I won't give you a 30, but I'll give you a 5. Go to college and come back and get to work. Anything for you?
Pete?
I don't have much. Just having fun at going to football games, going to West Park for their homecoming, although I didn't stay the whole time. When I saw Scott was getting there, I left.
That's right.
But just great to see all the fun activities and watching the kids in my house, mine and all the other ones that sort of congregate the buzz with homecoming and all this fun stuff coming up. It's just a great time of the year. That's it.
Perfect.
Man, I don't have too much. I was going to thank you and Craig for letting me be on intervention committee. It's my favorite, just so you know. No, it's really interesting. Just, looking at that intervention period and how we can tweak it a little bit, or if we need to tweak it. So that's been informative. And I pick my son's brain about it each day, and his friend are like, "Oh, we love it. Make sure it doesn't go away." Getting feedback on the ground. I feel encouraged about the direction of the curriculum and book issues. It's been an interesting couple weeks of lots and lots of emails, lots to think about. So I look forward to, when are we doing this? January, Pete?
That's the recommendation if staff can fit it in.
That's the recommendation. So I look
I'd like to do
forward
it in
that.
January.
Some pieces of it are going to start sooner, but
Yeah,
yep.
the training part.
I think that's all I've got.
Okay. Brad?
Thank you, and I also want to echo what Heidi was talking about. Thank you to the board. We've been talking about a lot of things around curriculum and pieces, and also the library review process has come up recently. And so thank you for the individual conversations we've been having, getting input. Had a chance recently to talk with our RSCA leadership, get some principal feedback, and so we're looking forward to sharing about our library review process in an upcoming board meeting with more information. So thank you all for your engagement in that process.
Just want to say a big thank you to Aldo Panesci, Carol Garcia, Kirk Euler, Joe, our host here, Scott Huber, Andrew Tagg, and Judy Fisher, Ed Services team, and 1,000 other people for another successful Bill Santucci Memorial Golf Tournament that raises almost $30,000 for our graduating seniors for scholarships. It was another great event. I just appreciate everyone's effort. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. It's a lot of work. But to get $25,000, $30,000 annually in the pockets of our graduating seniors is special, and it's a city effort, and I just appreciate all those involved in that. So.
Joe, do we know what the final tally was?
It's pretty close to what John said. We typically raise about, I think it was close to 40,000, and then you factor in the cost of running the tournament and everything. But we tend to get around that 25 to 30 range each year that we net. And so they usually try to get about 20 to 25 $1,000 scholarships they give away each year.
Yeah, I want to echo that. It's been it was a fun process. We had lots of meetings about the prior to the golf tournament. It is a again, I don't know of any other I'll say benefit or any other event that raises so much money for students. I mean, these are $1,000 scholarships for however many students they can fit in that $1,000 framework. Usually it's 25, 30. We had a lot of individuals who this year upped their donation from prior years. It was a good event. I was there, and I had a foursome playing with with everybody else. I did not file a formal protest over coming in third place. Our foursome was tied for third with, I think, 3 others, and they picked the lowest score on the hardest hole, which I thought was a total sham. No, I'm just kidding. It was a great event. It was really.
Who was on that second place team? It was all because the student golfers.
Yeah.
We were fortunate that Emily Bushnell was our driver there, and she was probably the best golfer in the entire course.
Yeah.
From Granite Bay, but
we did, and that was the other one I was going to mention. We did have a couple of student golfers that were out there. For an additional donation, these golfers would tee off for you, and then your first swing was wherever the ball landed. Now, we were one of the first foursomes to get through that, and I, of course, tried to convince them to change that afterwards to say, no, the students hit your first shot for you, and you have to count it. But they didn't go for that. It is a great time right now. There's a lot of events and activities going on. There's no shortage of events and plays and band performances and things at all the schools. I'm a frequent flyer at the West Park Friday Night Lights whenever they have home games because I've got a dancer at halftime, and they always graciously let me go down to the field so I can videotape. But it's a lot of fun being there. I appreciate. I'm going to combine these two items together on the curriculum adoption and the review of materials and the library materials. There is some significant misunderstanding and substantial misunderstandings about how those items are adopted. What does it mean? What does the process go through? I mentioned to someone called me and asked me about banning books. I said we don't ban books. That's not what we're doing. We have a review process to go through and review materials that are appropriate for student use, and ultimately they come to the board for approval, and that's the process. Now, that's the Reader's Digest version of the process. There's a whole lot in between there that is where all the misunderstanding comes in. But we are going to have at future board meetings in the not too distant future, the library material review process will be rolled out, and the curriculum adoption will get some we'll lay the groundwork for some of that, and we'll put some daylight on that to outline exactly what the process is. The whole intent of it, and I have not interviewed any legislator who passed all of the rules that relates to it, but the intent is to get opinions from the community, from teachers, from staff, from students as appropriate as to what they think about it. That's the whole process. And then it comes to the governing body to make a decision about it. And we look at things like copyright issues for movie clips, if need be. Can we get a copyright? Can we utilize it in class, or would we be violating a trademark? We have to look at a number of issues related to those things. But anyway, all of that will be rolled out. But I do echo several individuals who mentioned the comments, Bernadette Cranmer and Shemaine and some others, about we do need to work together, and we do need to, as much as possible, get rid of the contention in all of this. We've got to be able to talk to each other and work together. So with that, meeting adjourned until the 27th. Thank you for being here.